years, I have been struggling with the issue of the theoretical and practical meanings and implications of critical pedagogy in conflict-troubled societies. Societies in which there is some form of armed political or religious conflict. There have been criticisms in the literature that the usual rhetoric of critical pedagogy is inadequate to address what we call troubled knowledge, the emotional knowledge of a traumatized past, such as, for example, the profound feelings of loss, anger, and resentment that one carries from his or her belonging to a traumatized community. Why is the rhetoric of critical pedagogy inadequate? Because, as Jonathan Jansen and others have argued, this rhetoric has remained too firmly grounded in binary pairings such as oppressor-oppressed, master-slave, and enemy-friend, whereas in some conflict-troubled societies the emotional implications of troubled knowledge are so complex that these binary oppositions may have no meaning, as the roles of the victim and the perpetrator are often exchanged. So what does this paper tell us then? The paper basically looks more closely at one component of a binary pairing that is spread widely in conflict-troubled societies, namely the friend versus the enemy binary. The paper argues that it is possible to think of friendship outside of traditional understandings that define the friend in terms of proximity and reciprocity, while considering the emotional implications of trauma in these societies. Now, how does it do that? It places Derrida and Foucault's ideas on friendship in conversation and then discusses ways with which those ideas provide a pedagogical space in which critical educators in conflict-troubled societies can promote new modes of being and living with others. I specifically propose the idea of critical pedagogies of friendship, and I argue that critical pedagogies of friendship that take into consideration the emotional complexities of troubled knowledge help us interrupt the enemy-friend binary and revamp our sense of compassion and responsibility to others. Practically speaking now, the conception of critical pedagogies of friendship implies a number of things that are discussed in the paper, such as, for example, the need to embrace an openness to emotional risk and discomfort. It is through such openness that ethical and political practices of relationality with others are developed in ways that respect the asymmetrical wounds that are experienced. Also, teachers and students are invited to challenge normative emotional responses to others and reconsider conventional or institutionally sanctioned ways of feeling, thinking, and being with others. Finally, the argument made in this paper is important because it highlights how a notion such as critical pedagogies of friendship can be useful in forming pedagogical practices that are not reduced to any exemplar forms of friendship. On the contrary, critical pedagogies of friendship call upon all wounded subjects to envision and invent in practice, despite emotional difficulties, transformative modes of living with others.